Deadpool is a very interesting character. Known for his insane sense of humor, his constant breaking of the fourth wall, and his over-the-top violence, it's no wonder that people were asking for a film starring him.
Hey, Ballin! It's your friendly neighborhood Deadpool at your service. I'm here now. Breaking the fourth wall just like you asked. Also, where's your intro? Where's the hello there, everybody, and welcome to Let's Review Deadpool.
Of course, Deadpool's a character that is very easy to get wrong. Rather than being funny, Deadpool can come off as being obnoxious, irritating if handled the wrong way. Deadpool is often misinterpreted by his fan base. And by fan base, I mean all of those people who cosplay as him without ever having read a single Deadpool comic or comic in general.
Whoa! Calm down there, Mr. Comic Fan! Don't be so mean!
Look, don't get me wrong, there are people who like Deadpool and actually do read comics, but the vast majority of Deadpool fans have probably never read a comic before and are very misinterpreted as to who Deadpool is.
Well, Mr. Judgmental, you didn't read comics till a couple years ago, and 90% of your collection's Batman! So there, you have no judgment!
Now, it is worth mentioning that I personally am not a fan of Deadpool. He can be an interesting character, sure, but I really hate his modern portrayals, and how his character has been reduced to nothing more than chimichangas, breakdancing, and other pointless randomness.
That's cause chimichangas are chimichangaing amazing! Who else you know can get down to a sick beat like me, Holmes? Definitely not T-Swizzle, that's for sure.
So the Deadpool film is rated R, but is that enough to make it a good film? Most importantly, does the film live up to the expectations for Deadpool fans, and create a story that is enjoyable for both fans of Deadpool, those who like him for simply being funny and silly, and those who like Deadpool for his comics, his intricate story, and his character? Let's find out.
Spoiler alert! Yes! Yes it does!
Okay, seriously, Deadpool, what are you doing here? Damn it, Wade!
You asked me to do this! And don't call me Wade, that's reserved for the chicks. Or the dudes, I don't care which, honestly, as long as they're sexy.
This story is set up in an interesting format. It begins in the present, then flashes back to the past, but rather than staying in the past, it flashes between past and present for about the first half of the film. The parts that are set in the past before Wade Wilson becomes Deadpool are honestly the best parts of the film in my opinion. Now look, don't get me wrong, the rest of the film is still pretty good, but I honestly enjoyed the exposition scenes set in the past much more than the parts set in the present.
That's cause of pathos! See? I'm smart too! SMRT smart! Wait, I missed an A.
One of the reasons for this might be because the scenes that were set in the past focus much more on Wade as a character. Before he became Deadpool, we get to see several emotional scenes with him, where we care for him. After he becomes Deadpool though, we don't get much of that. Even when he's being serious, he's joking. And look, I know the film is supposed to be comedic, since Deadpool is a comedic character, but the amount of comedy in the second half can feel very out of place when compared to the first half.
Well, we need catharsis! People want me to kill Francis because he's a chimichanga! Weird. You want me to censor myself a chimichanga, even though you hate it. Also, plenty of jokes worked out beautifully, in my opinion. And let's get this out of the way. I'm Deadpool, I'm right, this is my movie, alright?
Look, in the first half, there were a lot of jokes and funny scenes, but when a scene needed to be serious, it was. There were also several quiet moments, where the characters were simply contemplating what to do next, wondering what would be their decision. The second half doesn't have any of this. Even the serious scenes are nothing more than a setup for the next joke that's going to come in.
That's obvious! I'm crazy! Project X, even though it's not Program X anymore. I'm crazy now! I don't have self-control! I blatantly spoil 127 hours for people! Come on, that's the worst thing you can do in a movie theater!
There also aren't any quiet moments in the second half, which is a shame, because they were good and unexpected for something like Deadpool.
Well, I'm crazy! I'm crazy! Of course there's gonna be moments like that! If there's a quiet moment, you're sure to know that I will screw it up with another damn joke. Does it even need to be said at this point?
On another note, is the humor in this film even good? Seeing as how this is a Deadpool film, that's the most important thing that everyone is going to be asking for. How is the humor? I'll say it, this is a very funny movie. The humor is nice, the jokes work well, and I was laughing for a really long time sometimes. It feels a lot like classic Deadpool from the comics, and is thankfully nothing like modern mainstream Deadpool. The film doesn't need to rely on Deadpool being over-the-top crazy, or saying chimichanga every other sentence.
Chimichanga!
In fact, he technically only says it once in the entire film. Wade is snarky, he's witty, he's sarcastic, all of this even before he becomes Deadpool. And once he becomes Deadpool, that personality is used to cover up his worries, his problems, and his insecurities. Most of the jokes come from this personality. But I have to say, the humor isn't perfect. Some jokes go on for a little too long, and they all have awkward pauses in between them. Another thing that really diminishes the humor is the fact that most of the best jokes you already know from the trailers. There were honestly only a few jokes that were really good and not in any of the trailers. So if you've seen all the trailers, well, you've basically seen the film, at least in the jokes department anyways.
That is not my fault. The studio told me to be funny. They were the ones that decided what goes in the trailers, not me. Besides, everyone loved the part where I made the T-Rex joke while I was fighting a jolly silver giant.
Now, seeing as how this is a Deadpool film, the fourth wall is going to be broken quite a lot. Thankfully though, it never feels forced. When Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, it's pretty subtle. He rarely has to pause the entire movie to do so. He also references subtle themes such as the movie's soundtrack or its budget. I do feel there were a few too many jokes about X-Men Origins Wolverine though.
There were only like 2! Seriously, the uncut version has so many more because no one enjoyed that movie. Besides, our budget was itty bitty. You probably have a bigger budget than we did.
In fact, there was an entire scene dedicated to mocking that film. And while they didn't mention it by name, they weren't exactly subtle about it either. Breaking the fourth wall never really got in the way of the film, and so it's still enjoyable in that regard. Other X-Men that were featured in this film are Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Colossus serves the role of the straight man to Deadpool, but I can't help but wonder why he was chosen for this role. I mean, he's nothing like any interpretation of Colossus ever, so why'd they choose him? They could have had anyone fill in this role. As for Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who, by the way, is an actual comic book character, believe it or not, she serves to just be a simple, moody teen girl. Both Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead are pretty bland characters by themselves. They only have one real character trait and very low personality, but they do contrast very well with Deadpool, so their character isn't entirely wasted.
I mean, come on! Colossus was my foil! He's the getty Marvel heroes like F.E.Man and Captain USA over there! Negasonic Teenage Warhead was a kick chimichanga name! Tell me I'm not lying right there! It's not my fault that the studio was the only ones that could get those two! Not my fault!
Colossus, however, does complicate some things since it's a different Colossus than the one we saw from X3. It is unknown when this is set because Xavier is hinted to be both old and young. Deadpool is connected to the X-Men, but which X-Men he's connected to is a little confusing.
If you're gonna quote me, then give me credit. That's literally the line in the movie. I mentioned McAvoy and Stewart, and that multiple timelines are confusing. Give me credit, Ballin.
It is a nice touch to get some new characters have their live-action debut though, such as Weasel and Blind L. Now, I stated earlier that the film is rated R, and it's very clear why this film is rated R. I do feel though that the beginning of the film has some swearing that was forced. It feels awkward, forced in, just because I can do it, it's rated R. By the end of the film, it becomes much more natural with its swearing, and it's only really used when needed, but that beginning half just feels so awkward.
The studio told me to hold back, because they don't want it to be too hardcore. Besides, mister, I've read the comics, so I'm superior to you in every way, shape, and form. You should know that I'm way more hyper and crazy than this in the comics, even classic Deadpool, so who are you to complain?
The soundtrack for this film is very good, and it works very well with the film. It's basically the same songs you heard from the trailer, but each song works well with the scene that it's in, and it's all very nice. But again, if you've seen the trailers, you've basically seen the film. Finally, one huge, major complaint that I have with this film, which can be seen as a minor issue to some, but for me personally diminishes the film, is Deadpool's origin, and the fact that it's altered quite a bit. Now, I understand why it was altered. They can't really do a story about Weapon X or Wolverine without having Wolverine involved, and they obviously can't get Wolverine in this film. But some of the changes they have are just unnecessary. Why did Wade have to be a mutant? Why did the treatment cure his cancer and disfigure him? Why couldn't he heal from his disfigurement? In this origin, his treatment was supposed to give him the healing ability, but not cure cancer. He would heal from the cancer fast enough that it wouldn't kill him, but not fast enough that he could cure it. However, in this movie, his cancer is completely healed, and he can heal from everything. So what exactly is preventing him from healing this disfigurement? It could be a side effect of his mutant powers manifesting, but if so, why? This new origin brings up too many questions. Some changes did have to be made, but the changes that were made were confusing and really diminished the film for me.
Hey, Ballin, don't worry about all this. By the time the sequel comes out, everyone will have forgotten this. And we'll have that sweet X-Men money just so we can have that much-needed Wolverine cameo. Still can't say his name for some reason. Just don't tell anyone. That's a secret to everyone, okay? And make sure you get a life and stop reading so many comics. People didn't complain about all the other superhero films, so just let it go!
Overall, I have to say Deadpool is great! It's a comedic superhero movie which can be surprisingly touching and emotional at times. The humor is very well handled, especially in regards to breaking the fourth wall. Deadpool does not come off as obnoxious or annoying, which is very good since the film's about him. His new origin can be confusing, but if you're the type of person who doesn't mind, it won't even matter to you. So, if you've seen Deadpool, let me know what you thought of it.
No duh, I'm great. Why else would so many people watch my movie? Oh, wait. You mean great as in your scale. Screw you, Ballin. It was 10 out of 10. Which for some reason isn't your top score. Get out here and get a real scale system. What's up with that? Seriously.
Hopefully this film does good, because then it will lead to more rated R hero films. And let's face it, some heroes just have to have a rated R movie. I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.
This has been Deadpool saying, eat chimichangas, and you'll grow up to be just like me. Wait, on second thought, don't do that. I don't want to have to kill myself again. That was a pain.